You're listening to the Stokes podcast, real and inspiring conversations with individuals from all over the world, sharing their insights on sustainability, fashion, conscious consumerism and empowerment. Be inspired to take action and be the change you want to see in the world. Hi everyone and welcome to the Stokes podcast. I'm excited to have today Claire Goodman with me. Welcome Claire, thank you so much for coming on.
Hi Lou, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I know you're a project development consultant for sportswear and performance clothing, and you also have your own brand, Petrichor Projects.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about yourself. I'm really intrigued to hear about your consulting with sportswear and performance clothing as well. So take it away.
Yeah, definitely. So my background is in fashion. I studied fashion at university, but I always knew that I had a passion for sportswear, technical products. And alongside my time at university, I was really into cycling. I started racing mountain bikes and I just really love the feeling of riding a bike. So since I graduated, my background has always been based in working in sportswear, which is my passion. So it's been really amazing to merge the two. And I have worked for lots of the leading sportswear brands, and since about 2009, I specialised in cycling specific sportswear brands, which has been really great.
Amazing. And is that as like a sustainability consultant or just a consultant in general for sportswear brands?
It's a consultant in general across sportswear brands. So that is everything from looking at the product, looking at the fabrics that we're using, looking at the fit, looking at how it performs on the bike, but also considering use of fabrics, use of trim, where we're placing the product, where we're sort of shipping products from. It can encompass absolutely everything within a supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Even the marketing, right? You got basically.
Exactly. Yeah. It all feeds into that as well.
Right. No, amazing. So tell me a bit about your brand and how that got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always had this idea in the back of my head that it would be really amazing to do something created specifically for women. Women are still a slightly underrepresented part of the market within cycling. And it's also, cycling is my passion and it's my background. And I've had this idea in the back of my head, and since about 2020, I've been working on it and developing it. And I launched it last year with one product, and then this year we're going further into clothing and products as well. So the idea is that we are creating women's products built for every adventure, and it's really using my background and my knowledge within sportswear and creating beautiful products built with women in mind.
Amazing. And what are the products? I know you just mentioned clothing, but what exactly are you selling right now?
So last year we launched with one product, which is a lightweight packable bag. And the idea with that was that you can take it out on your bike rides, you can put it in your jersey back pocket, it stuffs down really small, super lightweight, it's made from really beautiful recycled fabrics and trims. So it's really considered, but it's just a really useful item. It's something that you can stash away. And say, for example, you've done an amazing long bike ride and you're cycling home past a shop and you want to pick up some snacks or some chocolate milk or something. You can just nip in, fill up your bag, put it on your back and then cycle home. So I had this idea for something that I just couldn't find anywhere else. And I thought it was a really functional, useful product. And then to make it for women's proportions was a really good exercise. So for example, we cut it slightly smaller because women have, slightly shorter torsos than men. The straps are a different dimension. So we really got into the nuts and bolts of what was needed. And to bring it to market was really exciting. And we only make to order. So we did it on a pre-order basis. Again, to make it sustainable and to only produce what we can sell. So that was a really great exercise to do that. And that's what we plan to do with our clothing going forwards.
Wonderful. And so what is it actually, what is this first product, the backpack made of exactly?
We used a recycled Japanese nylon fabric.
Okay.
So they really specialize in amazing technical fabrics, super lightweight, but they're also very good at sustainability. So it's a recycled yarn and really lightweight, but really strong. And then we also used all of the trimmings that made up the bag components are also recycled. So for example, webbing and binding insides, those are also recycled, which is really important to us to consider all of these things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And what made you also think about the sustainability part? Were you, did you start on your own journey with sustainability, or was it just something that you thought, no, I have to do it this way?
It's always been something that's been important to me on a personal level. For example, whenever I'm shopping or whenever I'm, thinking about buying something new, I'm very considerate about what I buy. I purposely have a very small personal wardrobe. And so I like to buy pieces that will last for a long time, that I can wear again. I don't really buy into trends.
Yeah.
So for this product, specifically, it was about a gap in the market that I spotted that I wanted to fulfill, but that could also last for a really long time. I want people to love it, take it on adventures, use it over and over again. And we really considered about how that can kind of fit into people's lives and what was needed. So that was the background on that one, really.
Yeah, amazing. And the clothing, obviously it's for cycling. Is it like typical like legging type style, or I'm not sure about bicycle clothing, to be honest.
That's fine. It's quite a niche area.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're bringing out a women's padded cycling bib. So that's the sort of contour, nicely neat fitting, with the padded chamois pads, so you're super comfortable when you're on the bike, basically. And we're also making a technical t-shirt, which is again, it's a really great product. You can wear it on the bike, so we fitted it really ergonomically, so it works well on the bike. But going back to what we were just talking about, sustainability, I wanted to make a piece that people could get the most use out of. So this t-shirt, for example, you can go running in it, you can wear it after your bike ride, you can wear it when you're not cycling. So again, I really wanted to consider how people are buying, how people are using these items, and to get the most wear out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it functional.
Exactly.
Yeah. And interesting, because like I think about technical fabrics, and I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess they're quite hard to find sustainable fabrics as technical fabrics, or not so much anymore?
Not so much anymore. I think because of my background working in the industry, I perhaps have a lot of contacts. So I knew the right mills to go to, and I had good relationships with the fabric mills. So it was really, it's all about asking those key questions as well. And because I know the right people to speak to, it was just about, asking those questions. What's the yarn from? Where's the yarn coming from? Where's it made? Sort of drilling down into the, rather than this is a sustainable fabric, is asking those questions like, what does that actually mean? But now on the market generally, there are quite a few options, and there's different levels of sustainable fabrics. You can get recycled yarns, you can get bio-based, you can get biodegradable. So there are more options, and it's a very innovative area. So I think we're going to see a lot more growth in that area as well.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And how, obviously building a sustainable brand has its challenges.
Absolutely.
What is there anything that has been a real challenge for you that you'd like to share?
I think I think building a sustainable brand, it's definitely a challenging area. And I think the one thing that I've been quite keen to address is the made to order side of it, because a lot of brands, they do tend to produce in a slightly different way to us. You know, they will order up front, they'll get their stock in their warehouse up front, and then it will sort of, you know, sit, and if it doesn't sell, then it will go to a sale. And that's perhaps something that I wanted to address, because, you know, a lot of items, if they're not worn, if they're not sold, you know, where do those end items go? Do they get destroyed, or do they get, you know, burnt, for example? So I really didn't want to go down that route and put things into the world that don't need to exist. So I was really keen to explore the made to order model, and that's been really interesting, and our customers responded really well to that on the first product. I think people really get behind that, and I think perhaps that's something we're going to see more and more of from brands going forward. I think the slightly challenging area to that is getting your timings right in terms of, you know, the buy, and, you know, lining everything out ready to sort of open your pre-orders and then tell the factory how many you actually want. And also explaining that from a consumer point of view, how long are consumers willing to wait for their items, for example. So there's definitely lots of components to juggle with that side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do then? You say, okay, I'm opening an order, and then I guess you have people on the waiting list, and then you have to have a certain amount of units to produce from for the factory.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's sort of working back, really. It's knowing how many units your factory will produce as a minimum, and then making sure you've done all of the work up front to kind of get that product right and that you're happy with, and then sort of going forward, opening that up to your customer and making sure that you can hit those minimums and communicate all of this with your audience as well. You know, people really want to know what goes on behind the scenes. So yeah, it's a really interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guessing this will work the same for the clothing you'll do made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pre-order. Yeah. And so how does it work with the sizing? Do people say to you, oh, I'd love to try it on, or that's not something?
Yeah, I think in terms of the sizing, I've been, again, using my background, I've made a real effort to make it true to size and to do a lot of work getting a really, really considered fit that works for all different types of body shapes. We really wanted to be as inclusive as possible. So we've looked at running 8 sizes for the clothing. So we're covering a really broad spectrum of body types and shapes.
Which is great.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think, you know, it's what the consumer expects. And I think, you know, it's a great offering to be able to do that. So in terms of the sizing, I think, yes, ideally people would like to try it on, but genuinely, I think these days people don't always have to try it on. You know, a lot of people are willing to buy one and accept all the information that you put out there in terms of sizing. And again, it's sort of communicating that really well with the consumer and giving them all the information they need up front to be able to buy.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like shift in mindset, because we're so used to like, oh, I'm going to go out and buy something, or I'm going to look online and buy something. And when we go out, we know that we can try it on and we can see it. And online, you know, that if you buy from fast fashion, it's very easy to send it back and things like that. So I guess we're so used to just like having it quickly and being able to try it on and take it back. And so I guess the whole pre-order, I think, actually will make consumers think before they buy as well, which I think is great, because it just brings more awareness into what you're buying and why you're buying it.
Absolutely. And that was the whole intention, really, just to start having that conversation with consumers. You know, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. You know, we only really want to make what we can sell. I think that's a really exciting proposition, and it's just changing that mindset. Like you said, we are so used to kind of going to the shop and just picking something up that you know looks great, but actually it's quite nice to be able to sort of share our story, share our process, tell our audience what we're doing, and then sort of say, if you'd like it, you can pre-order it and you'll be able to have it in X amount of time. And yeah, I think we will see more and more brands offering this as we go forward. I think it's a really interesting and more sustainable way of producing.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're just making what is demanded instead of just overproducing and, like you said, having a load of excess stock, and then that either goes in a landfill or it, gets thrown away or burnt. And what's the point in creating something that potentially, doesn't need to exist as if there's not a demand for it?
And I think it's also really important to show the process that the products go on to get to the end consumer, to sort of be able to share details of how you develop a product and how you fit a product and, how you got to making the print. I think that's a really interesting part of it. And to be able to share that, it also helps the consumer sort of be more aware of what you're doing and what you're making. And sort of like it really goes into that pre-order story as well.
Yeah, and it's also like, for me personally, I really like that there's a story behind something that I'm going to buy, and like knowing the hands that have touched it, how it's been made and processed, and the person that's like had this idea to create it. Like for me, that gives it this added value rather than just buying from a store.
Absolutely. And I think that gives it longevity. If you see, like you said, the hands that have touched it and the process, you'll want to wear it more and more, and you'll love it that bit more as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel, Claire, that there's been like quite a shift in consuming? Do you feel like people are actually starting to consume in a more conscious way?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a trend that we're seeing throughout fashion and, in my world of sort of technical cycling, clothing. People are just questioning a bit more, do I need that extra pair of bib shorts or that extra cycling jersey or that extra t-shirt, and I think there's a lot more awareness around it. You hear a lot more news perhaps about how brands are operating, and people are very keyed in, and consumers are very aware of, modern day practices that aren't really, they're not sustainable. We can't keep consuming the amount of products that we do. So I absolutely think there's a consumer shift. And I think that shift will keep happening. I think we will see more and more changes in the way people buy and consume products.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel like the brands that you consult with, they're also very concerned about sustainability?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Every brand that I've worked with and that I do work with, it's top of the list, really. It's all about creating functional products that will last, that have this built-in sustainable lifetime, but also it's about looking at everything that I've talked about within my brand. So making sure the fabrics are right, making sure the fabrics are recycled, getting that traceability on the products, sort of, it doesn't stop at saying we've used a recycled fabric. It's knowing the full traceability of it. So it's really building all of that into the background of the product.
Amazing. Yeah. No, I feel like it's really exciting times in fashion, in that sense that there's a lot of people doing incredible things, a lot of people using different technologies like material innovation. There's just a big shift in mindset, and I just feel like it's a really exciting time, and people, like consumers, are really open to this.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I think that's the really nice thing about social media, for example, and following brands on social media. I think customers are really engaged when brands show behind the scenes and the process. And like you said, all of this amazing technology that's happening now, it's really incredible to see how brands are using different printing processes, or cutting fabrics in a different way that minimizes waste fabric. That's really exciting, right? So to sort of showcase that on social media I think it's really authentic, and I think consumers really love seeing that side of it as well.
Yeah, and I feel like it just brings you closer to the brand. Like, I think it helps you to understand more about a brand and its DNA and its values when they're being, very transparent and showing a process, even if they're, it's not always easy, because I know that to be 100% sustainable is difficult. And so I think it's really important that brands can showcase what they're doing and just be honest and authentic about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. If we were all 100% sustainable, then maybe we wouldn't make anything at all. But people want things, and people want to see new things. So I think as a brand, you can just sort of be open and honest and have these conversations, and also admit when you get things wrong, because that's fine too. I think it's just really great having that authenticity and sharing that process with consumers, and it's a two-way conversation as well. It's a really great thing to share and to be open about.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you envision the future of fashion?
Oh, that's a really tough one. I mean, the future of fashion is going to be really exciting, whatever happens.
Exciting industry.
Yeah, exactly. I think what excites me most is the new technology that we sort of discussed. I think work in 3D is going to really move things on. Sort of innovative cutting and looking at waste is going to be a real huge shift. There's a lot of work in 3D. I think AI could be a really interesting thing for fashion as well. It's something that I would personally love to learn more about. So I think, different technology streams is one to sort of really look at. And then another exciting area is different fabrics innovations. There's always so much innovation that goes on in that area. There's just so many possibilities, and I think new technology is always exciting.
Yeah, very much so. Well, Claire, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you and your brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find my brand on Instagram. We're at petrichorprojects.co, and that's also our website as well. Come and follow us.
Amazing. I'll include them in the show notes as well. Thank you so much, Claire. It's been great having you on.
Thanks for having me, Lou.
You're welcome. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please subscribe to the Lou Stokes podcast. Rate and review in the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning in from. I'd be so grateful. Also, check out the show notes to learn more about my guests and learn more about me on my website, www.loustokes.com. Until next time, be inspired, take action, and be the change you want to see in the world.